IoT devices are a huge area of focus for Constellation and just in general for the economy. Like sensors, robotics are so much a bigger part of the economy right now and will continue to do so. And I think the genius behind IoT data collection devices syncing to the hypergraph, an immutable layer zero distributed ledger technology network is that you can then go out and create companies that literally are hardware companies that sync there, and then you can have data brokers from all different other companies buy that data. You can resell that data. It's like they know it's true. Like right now, if you were buying data from another company somehow, you wouldn't see the timestamp of the metadata. You wouldn't see the immutability features. That data could be manipulated and reconstructed and some deleted and this and that. But Constellation's hypergraph allows for audited, notarized metadata to be printed to an immutable blockchain distributed ledger, and all of the data properties can never be altered and will exist there, forever conceivably. So it's digital truth information, it's digital truth data. And what IoT sensors do, I mean, think about like a temperature sensor. If we could put one in Africa, one in Asia, US, Europe, this, that, we can start collecting temperature data that syncs to an immutable L0 layer that's there forever. So think if you do that for like 500 years, like you have true statistics to study and know the truth of history in the world. And that's just one small example. I mean, think about the Apple Watch and think about instead of just syncing to Apple servers and everyone just being in these siloed environments, if that's unlocked for all individuals to own all that data generation. So I've got my Apple Watch on. It can monitor my steps, my heart rate, blood pressure's coming. And instead of just wearing it, yeah, I see my data, it prints to the hypergraph, a layer zero that's immutable and exists, and you own that data on that layer zero, and you could trade it, you could sell it, you can analyze it. So it basically brings information, it gives data ownership to individuals, but it also brings that digital truth information down to a layer zero layer of information where it can all be synchronized and traded and monetized and used for research and used for history and all this type of stuff. Like healthcare, I think, is just going to be huge, and that's the Genico thing. It's like if you start getting healthcare devices that sync to a layer zero, can be monetized by the individual, but can also be analyzed by researchers, doctors, et cetera, we just can collect so much more data. And data is the new oil. So anyone owning proprietary data sets are like the new Rockefellers. So if creating hardware devices like the DTM that Constellation has, it's like we can start generating this data that we know has value in the marketplace, and we're going to do the full cycle and show how it's generated, how the ownership goes, how it's sold, and then eventually flowing that back, like those Foursquare purchases, getting that revenue back into the token and to DTM holders. So it's not just DAG emissions that pay you. It's like you are being paid monetarily, ideally in Bitcoin or USDC or DAG, whatever, for that actual tangible value that data is being bought for in the actual economy. And they'll be able to show this to other people and other datapreneurs that can create hardware devices or companies or anything. And it just unlocks this new way to create like truth and to analyze truth and to synchronize data. That's what that layer zero does. It brings all data to the same level. We're not just playing around with all these individual siloed information sets. It's like, hey, let's bring it down. Let's give individual ownership, but let's also allow a very easy way for all of this to synchronize and work together. And that's the generative economic effect. Everyone down at that layer zero having that easy syncs and analysis of digital truth information, it empowers their businesses. Because as we've said, data is the new oil. And by that, it's like the new commodity that you use to function in the world. Oil, power, the industrial revolution, everything. and data is that new like baseline commodity. And the hypergraph is like monetizing data to an unreal level. And outside of the money aspect, just creating the possibility for digital truth. Like think about, I've talked about like the Roman times. It's like, what were they saying to each other? What were they buying and selling? Like, what was the data they were generating? And then you can look back 2,000 years and be like, oh, this is the truth. You can query certain, functions. What were they talking about? And we're going to be able to do that. Like, when these social networks eventually move over to Web3 immutable infrastructure layers, you're going to be able to analyze what society was talking about. It's like Google searches. Like, imagine if that was open sourced and we could query what the top things everyone's talking about every year. So it's a whole new world. It's exciting. It hasn't been birthed yet, but I have extreme confidence in Constellation's leadership team, and I just I hold a high conviction here that this is a groundbreaking technological development. So I'm excited to be along for the ride.